My suggestion, if I was a white belt today, I will train at least until purple belt, more gi than no gi. I will do both. Once a week no gi, 4 times a week gi. And then as a purple belt, if I like no gi more, I start to switch.
Hello, friends. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Main Idea Podcast, where today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Rafael Formiga Barbosa. I'd like to take a second and thank those of you that purchased rash guards. 100% of the proceeds are going to be reinvested back into the show to help with audio quality, video production, and repurposed media, all of which take time and money. So it's awesome to be able to use these contributions and give back to the show. The other way that you can support this show is by taking 30 seconds and leaving a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. It is so easy to do. Just click the little hamburger menu on Spotify, rate the show 5 stars, click submit. It helps tremendously with organic show growth and getting this show in front of people that value strength and conditioning, human performance, and of course, jiu-jitsu. Rafael Formiga is an 11-time World Masters champion, 14-time Pan American champion, co-owner of Double Five Jiu-Jitsu in Dallas, Texas, husband and loving father to his 2 kids. I hope that you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Rafael Formiga Barbosa. So Rafael Formiga, professor, someone I've wanted to have on the show for a long time. So I'm really excited to finally be here, and thank you so much for taking the time to join me.
Welcome. Thank you for the opportunity for inviting me. It was my pleasure to be here with you.
So you are an 11-time Masters World Champion. That is crazy. To be able to compete and age at the same time and do both with grace is really something. What presents itself as difficult at your level? You've been competing for so long. You've seen so many different competitors, the biggest names in the sport, yourself included. What makes someone challenging at your level?
Yeah, I feel like for me now it's not a challenge anymore. It's, to be honest, like it's a passion, you know. I still competing because I really enjoy the process, the training, the dieting, you know. It's crazy because like people say, how come you enjoy the diet? I don't enjoy the diet, but when I'm doing diet, that helped me to keep thinking about competing. Why I'm doing diet, you know. All the time I do diet before competition, my mind don't let me forget about why I'm doing that. You know, okay, I'm not eating because I have that big goal, and then that help me to focus and make keep myself like concentrate. You know, and then now for me it's more passion. Like I compete more just because I wanna be on the match. That's the thing I love the most. You know, I really like. I try a couple times. Say, you know what, I'm gonna take 2 months, 3 months off, and then never work. I all the time I say I'm gonna be 3 months off. Next week I sign up for competition, end up competing again. That doesn't work for me. I really love competing. I think like the one thing I love more than jiu-jitsu is competing jiu-jitsu. That's I love more than just be on do jiu-jitsu or just to have fun, you know. Yeah. I think
Do you
that's the
ever
main thing.
worry? Do you ever worry about what would happen to you if you stopped competing?
Yes, all the time. I keep thinking that, like all the time. When I finish competing, my wife said, "That's you done now, right? You're not competing anymore." I say, "No, I'm gonna keep competing." And I don't know. I think if I stop competing, I'm not gonna be the same person anymore because I don't
Yeah.
remember. I started competing. I was 10 years old. I'm
Wow.
41. I've been
Yeah.
competing for 31 years. You know, every single month at least one competition. Of course, in the beginning it wasn't that much, but now I do at least one a month. It's a lot of competition, and I just don't know how to what to do without competing. You know, I train myself over competition. No, not that time. I have that guy, and then I need to work more passing because he's good in bottom. Oh, that competition, I have that guy who is a good in takedown. I need to be able to stop the takedowns. You know, like that's how I do my training sessions out over the people I'm gonna face or the next competition. You know, it's like I can't see myself. I don't think I will never stop. I think if I stop training, is that because I get a big injury. If I don't get any injury, I think I'm gonna compete until I die.
Yeah, you see this happen with like footballers, international soccer players, right? The
Yep.
like Ronaldo, right? Ronaldo, one of the greatest ever to play the game,
Hmm.
fantastic, and they stop and then they like gain weight and they're kind of out of shape. You see Wayne Rooney looks like he's like 40 pounds heavier than he used to, and you realize how much of their life is
Yes.
eating, sleeping, training for performance. And I would imagine at your level, being as decorated as you are living this 24/7. How you eat, whether or not you want to do it. Like I'm sure as an athlete, you wake up some days and the last thing that you want to do is train. That's normal. It's the
Hmm.
last thing you want to do is go and do a workout in the gym. But because of the habit, because of doing it and knowing what it gives you, you stay on track. How often is that occurring in your life where you're like, oh man, I don't want to go in and train today, but you do because you got competitions coming up?
Uh, a lot more than normal because like more than before. Like as I get old now, like get injuries take way longer to recover. You know, I have a lot of responsibility, like kids, wife, academy, the association. You know, more things in front of myself. When I was adult, I just think about me. Now I need to think about a lot of people behind me. You know, and make it a little hard about. But like I agree with you. Like I do believe if I stop competing, I will be one the guy like Ronaldo. I will put a lot of weight on top, you know, and
Yeah.
then I will be like not motivated at all to do anything, you know. I think competition will keep motivate. And like it's funny because like I just finished a camp, right? The World was last week, and
Mhm.
then I did a 3 weeks camp. Amazing. No injuries, 3 weeks, double sessions. I train a lot, teaching, do everything. In the last week, I was, man, I can't wait to stop training, take a week off. And that's my week off. Today's Thursday. And I went today in the class, I said, man, I think I'm gonna train tonight because like
Yeah.
I'm doing nothing. I wanna training, you know, and that not even a whole week. Tomorrow's supposed to be 1 week off, you know, and then I
Yeah.
already wanna train again, you know. It's like it's already in my mind, you know, like training jiu-jitsu every day is part of my life. Like it's hard for me not doing jiu-jitsu. It's really hard. I think the long time, it's funny, the long time I was off the match was during COVID. I was 3 months off the match. That was the
Wow.
long time in my life I was off the match was for that 3 months off because of the COVID. That was the worst time in my life too. And also I got really heavy. I got a 198, almost 200 pounds. You know, that's
Wow.
like 30 pounds heavy than my walking. I walking 175. That was 30 pounds over. That was like terrible, terrible.
How do you take care of yourself in between all this? Like if we look at this, it's kind of crazy. To be an
Hmm.
11-time world champion is really impressive. To own multiple successful businesses is really impressive. To have a family that's still together where you love your wife or your wife loves you and you have your kids that you love, that's really impressive. But to have a family that's successful, multiple businesses and growing, and be an 11-time world champion, plus all the other accolades that precede that with the Pan Americans and everything. How are you juggling these three balls of like constant performance across different mediums?
It's like it was kind of natural for me. Like I never planned on that. You know, I never like when I was young say, you know what, when I get old, I'm gonna have a family, I'm gonna have my business, I just start to learn like as life is happening, okay, I need to find time for this, I need to find time for that. And then keep find a way to do everything as possible, you know. And then what I try to do, like close to big competition, like the last 3 weeks, I will be honest, my wife is always an unbelievable support. You know, in the last 3 weeks I need to recover. I need to have my time to relax a little bit because I still teach and still do everything. And then those small things we do, like for example, people doesn't see, but we wake up early, take the kids to the school. We have 2 kids. My wife take one, I take the other one. And then I pick up one, she pick up the another one. They go for 2 different schools. And then that make it a little harder for everything, you know. But the last 3 weeks for the competition, she say, hey, don't worry, I'm gonna find a way to take care about the kids. Focus on
Wow.
yourself. She helped me. Like have a person on your side who is understand the process is important. And she
Mhm.
step on like all the time do I need. She say, no, go ahead. I can do that for you. They're not gonna kill me for 3 weeks, running
Right.
around and take care about the kids, and then you focus on yourself, focus on the competition. That way you're gonna do way better than try to do everything together,
Right.
Having somebody to help was really good. Also, I did the same thing on my camp. For example, most of the time I teach the camp. I have one of my black belts, Diogo Moreno, who is
Right.
stepping on the camp. He hurt his knee a month before. He was out. He's not competing. And he said, you know what, coach? I'm going to step on, let me teach. And he running the camp. We sit down together. We plan the camp, everything we supposed to do. And he running the camp to me. I was a student in there. That was another important thing because, like, if I was there, try to teaching, training myself, pay
It's
attention,
too
people
much.
mistakes will be almost impossible, right?
Yeah.
And then I have that guy Diogo who is step in and help me as well. That was pretty much my wife. Uh, Diogo, and I have one of my students. She helped me, Victoria. She helped me on the class. She kind of teach out the class. I was on the class with her, but she running the show, and I was just like in there to make sure everything's organized. If I need to do something, I do. But she pretty much teach most of the class for me. I pretty much have 3 weeks able to focus on me and not thinking about too much. I was there physically, but she bring the program. She did everything. Same thing with Diogo. Same thing with my wife. It's important to have people to help you. That was the reason I was able to do really well. Yeah.
With performances like that, to be 11 times is crazy. I mean, you look to, I don't know, if we use mixed martial arts as an example, people that defend their title that many times, it's very few and far between, and it's rare, and it takes a special athlete, of course. It also takes some very small amount of luck and a ton of preparation and discipline. But if you look to yourself and the preparations for each one of these victories, I would imagine that you're so good, right, at your practice. You're so
Mhm.
good at jujitsu. How do you keep evolving your performance, evolving your game plan as you win more and more and more? Because when you're younger and you don't have all the accolades, you can be really hungry, right? You want
Mhm.
to accomplish all this
Yeah.
stuff. But as you keep accomplishing it, people know more about your game. They know more about your tendencies. There's more video footage of you performing. There's more matches that they can watch. There's a reputation. They know that you're really good at butterfly guard. All these kind of things start to stack up when you say your name. So when you go into something like this, how do you actually approach the preparation part of it? How do you fine tune your spear and get better and better when people already know what your game is?
hmm Uh, First about like keep myself motivated. I agree with you. Discipline is the most important thing. Like I do have a discipline to train every day. For 31 years, I started 10. I'm 41. I train every single day of my life. Like I have Sunday off. That's the only day off in my life. I train and not matter what happens. Like my wife make fun of me. We go for vacation. The only thing always in my luggage is my gi. I every single place I travel, my gi go with me. And it doesn't matter if I stay 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I will find 1 or 2 days to go on the gym, local place. Doesn't matter. Doesn't need to be high level, but that way I can training, make some connections, make some new friends, and then like jiu-jitsu is really part of my life. I miss like if I'm not training for 1 week, I start to feel sick, like in the point like, man, I need to do jiu-jitsu. Like I'm about to get a sick, because I really need jiu-jitsu. All the part on there, like I do agree with you about people studying my game, and I 100% agree. When you win in a law, you become a target, and everybody study your game and want to beat you. But one thing I feel is important: people can know my game really well, they can understand, but nobody has the timing and precision. The timing precision I have makes sense. Like, for example,
Yeah.
I'm gonna use another high level guy, Adam Kaczynski, who's played butterfly,
Yep.
amazing. Okay, if you train with Yada and training for me, we play butterfly both. Pretty much similar games. But he has a hook little stronger than I have. I have one position variation the other guy doesn't have. I think it's almost impossible for you to find somebody who can replicate somebody game in the
Yeah.
point you can stop that game. Maybe they can stop one my variation, but I don't think they can stop my second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. That's what make me little ahead because I don't have just one. I have like 5 or 6 from my main technique. Let's say I start in butterfly, but from my butterfly, I have single X guard, I have this omoplata, I have so many things. Maybe the guy will be able to stop my butterfly, stop my single X, but he's gonna expose the omoplata. Or maybe they stop the
Right.
omoplata, but they expose the X guard. And then it makes sense. And then I keep go one by one until I find the gap. And you win. Of course, sometimes I lose. I lose for last year. I lose for Josh Hing. I lose for Philippe. The guy. I beat the guy in my semifinal in the open class and the watch. I beat Philippe Fragolin. I think that's it. They say his last name. He's heavyweight. He was the guy who's won the heavyweight. And he beat me one competition before the North American Master. He beat me on this final, and then I studied his game, and then I was able to find a little mistake. I could get that mistake and be able to beat him that time. And maybe the next time he can study and find a mistake on my game and beat me. That's like never end. We always need to be studying, try to find something new that I think never gonna end. Yeah.
You mentioned in there discipline. Obviously, you have immense discipline if you're training every single time you travel, every single time you're home, and you're balancing too your recovery and your output and your strength training and everything. So to say you aren't disciplined would just be a lie. One thing I've heard you say before is that judo possesses a lot more discipline inherently than jujitsu does. And with your judo background growing up, doing judo prior to jujitsu, can you speak a little bit to that
Yes.
about the discipline level in judo and
Yeah.
kind
I
of
feel
how jujitsu has changed over time?
Yeah, I feel like I started in jiu-jitsu when I was 3 years old. 3 years old. I did jiu-jitsu for 2 years, from 3 to 5. That's it. Okay. I still remember the first lesson I did when I was 3 years old, how to break fall, And my coach, I did it there on military school, They have a judo place inside the military school. The guy was a military guy, really strict. Like, we walk on the match, nobody can talk. Think about that. 3 years old, you walk on the match, cannot talk, cannot play, just say yes sir, no sir. That was my the way I learned judo. Okay, my coach was that way, and then his name is Julio. And Julio was like a really nice guy, but he doesn't play around. No jokes on the class, nothing. You can play in the class in the last 5 or 2 minutes. That's it. And then the whole class, everybody quiet. You don't hear a noise. Everybody quiet. And I feel like it started like that. My mommy put me on that situation, like when I was from there really restrict level, no talk, everybody quiet, just do what the coach say, yes sir, no sir. To 3 years later, 5 years later, I start jiu-jitsu, I was 10. And then super chill, the people make a joke, you can show up late, do a few push-ups and you're gonna be fine. But I felt like I was able to bring that discipline from the judo coach to the jiu-jitsu community. Wasn't there much discipline, but was super respectful the way my coach teach anyways, was much more chill and what making me have much more fun, like I was on the match in jiu-jitsu enjoying. Oh, okay, that's cool. People make fun, make jokes, but the time the coach say go, I never make fun because I have the judo background what making me like when my coach says something I supposed to follow what he say and just go. I think that's what was really important for me, understand how to follow directions, and then understand if I follow what my coach say, it maybe not work now, but will work later. And I think that judo was the most important thing to bring it there for jiu-jitsu. And I still do that. When my coach, whatever, if my coach tell me like, hey, Formiga, you're not going to play butterfly. You're going to play whatever, De La Riva. I'm terrible in De La Riva. You're going to play De La Riva. I will say what he say because I do believe if he tell me that he sees something I don't see, and if I do what he say, he know my game better than me, and that means like
Right.
okay, probably gonna work well, and I will do whatever he said. And then I do understand, follow what your coach say, believe in what he tell you to do is important to get better, and I will do whatever. And I learned down judo. I definitely learned down the judo.
Are there elements of that that you maintain at Double Five? Like, what do you think is the ideal balance of play and discipline? Because if people have aspirations of being world class, right, I think
Hmm.
you could agree that you have to be dedicated, period. And
Yes.
there's some degree of selflessness that you have to embody. Like, you need to be not selfish in everything you do. Obviously, care for
Hmm.
yourself, but you are part of a team, and the best athletes in the world are nothing without the people behind them. They say, they stand on the shoulders of giants. And that's true because without your teammates, without your professor, without your coach, where does the structure come from? Where do the good looks come from in the
Uh-huh.
analysis? So, what is a good balance? You own several schools and are successful on the business side of jujitsu too. So, how do you cater to that? Because you have so many different people coming in the door, from parents that are trying to find something to align with their kids after school to people that are trying to be world class world
Hmm.
champions.
Yeah, I think it is successful for academies this. Not everybody want to be a world champion. That means
Mhm.
if I teach a world, let's say, try to make all my students become a world champion, I'm gonna break my business tomorrow,
Yeah.
100%. You know, and then what I find is this: I pair my students up.
So, what do you think the perfect balance of those two are for your own academy and the
Okay.
success of the business as well?
Yes, I think to be successful in the business, you need to have their pushing hard for people who's wanna push hard, and help the guy who's wanna get in there one day, or maybe some guys doesn't wanna get never in there, you know. And the way I find is I pair my students up. I don't allow them to choose the partners. That way I know, okay, there are five guys in the right corner, they wanna be a world champion. Those five guys, I'm gonna push different. They're gonna go against each other, and when they get a tired, I'm gonna get, let's say he's a small guy, I'm gonna give him a big guy who's giving him more challenge. Those guys I'm gonna push way more. The other 10 guys in the other corner who doesn't want to be a competitor, they just in there for lose weight for whatever reason they there. Those guys I'm gonna put them between each other, and then when the world champion guys start, maybe I give those guys for them. That way they can train it together and both gonna help each other. But I will make sure the tough guys in the room go against the tough guys. The kind of easy guys go with the easy guys. The medium guys go with the medium guys. That's super easy for the coach who is there every day to know who is the tough guy, who is the guy who is the one to push, but today they tired, they cannot push too much. It's easy to understand that. And also, of course, like I think the warm up is the best time to make connections. My warm up is super chill. We talking about life. I ask questions for students. I see how they doing. I think that's the time to make connection with your students. Make the link. Make sure they want to come back tomorrow. I never be rude with the students. If the new reality is like the time I was young, if I show up late, 200 push-ups. Running on the match for I run at one time. I do remember I run on the match for 1 hour because I was 10 minutes late. My coach making me running for whole class. I didn't train.
Wow.
You know, but now the new, like, if I do that today, the guy gonna leave my academy tomorrow and go to the next academy, right? And
Right.
also we have different schedule. People show up late because people work or people have family. I have a lot of students who is left their work, go home, help the wife to give dinner for the kids or put the kids to sleep, and then run into the gym. How come I'm gonna tell those guys, hey man, if you show up late, you're not gonna be able to come? Like
Totally.
I wanted that guy to be on the match. If he show up late, I just say, hey man, you know what? Stretch a little bit on the corner for make sure you don't hurt yourself, but you jump in on the next match, because it's life, man. I will do the same. I prefer to be with my family than be on time on the gym. If the only way for me to be with my family be not go to the gym, I will definitely cancel the gym and be with my family every day, right?
Yeah.
And then if I can help those guys to, like, no, go ahead, man, come into the gym, show up late, but take care about your family first, and then show up late. I will be the first one to say, do that, man. Keep it going. Don't worry about show up 10 minutes late. I'm supporting you. I feel like that way the students be happy. The students who's wanna push gonna push anyways. Not gonna change, and everybody it's a winning for everybody. I think it's a good way to deal with your students.
Do you adjust that expectation for people that have world class aspirations?
Yes, I do. I do definitely. And then and of course, yeah, I'm trying to, like, I be mean sometimes, of course. It's
Yeah.
a part to be a good coach. You need to sometimes push more. Hey, man, you're not doing right. If you keep it doing that way, you're never going to win a competition. If you want to be a world champion, if you want to win that competition, show up early, leave late,
Yes.
push more than everybody. That's the secret. If you thinking about all the champions, how many champions they do extra, right? I train jiu-jitsu, I train like I lifting, and then I like to run. I feel running help me to move better, you know.
Yeah.
Doesn't make my jiu-jitsu better, but definitely all the time in close competition, I like to run. My legs move way better. I get a better mobility when I running, and I running for a month, maybe a month and a half before competing. A lot of times to help me to drop weight, but sometimes if I don't need to drop weight, I run that time, for example, I run for a month and a half, and I have no problem with my weight. My weight was right on point already a month and a half before. But I want to keep running just to help me to keep it like my legs moving really well, you know. I just feel it's a part of the preparation. Each person has a different way. I like to running, other people like to swimming, other people like to whatever boxing before, you know, like whatever work for you, make sure keep doing to make you better, you know.
You seem like a really nice guy. Aside from how you were raised in jiu-jitsu, you came up in some academies that were pretty rigid in their approach,
Yep.
with real punishment, with kind of some of the older ethos of jiu-jitsu and the older philosophy. I personally, I find a lot of appreciation in that. I kind of like the regimented military approach. I think that
Mm-hmm.
it creates a lot of
Yep.
structure, and I think being an athlete my whole life, I can respect. You know, I've came to practice late before when I was younger, to my
Mm-hmm.
sport, and being punished by my coaches, you know, like verbally, and them making an example, it was embarrassing as an athlete, and it
Yes.
made me
Uh-huh.
want to change that behavior 100%. It was, I didn't
100%.
want to show up late anymore. I didn't want to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And so when I was younger and formulating my mind as an athlete, it was really important actually. And if I could go back and change that, I wouldn't. I would want it just as tough, just as hard. So when I look at you know, obviously we just made the example between kind of athletes and then your general people that are coming to the gym. Maybe they're trying to stay in shape. Maybe they're trying to be a good example for their family. Uh, what is that line with your athletes, with your world class people? Like, how hard do you want to be with them? Do you want to be like you were in the academy with Ricardo de la Riva and these other guys really bearing down on you to form you into this 11-time world champion? Or how do you manage that space with those athletes, that discipline with them?
Yeah, I'm a little different than my coach. Like my coach, that definitely I like to say both was like really, really strong. Like, no, if you show up late, you're gonna do push-ups, you're not gonna
Mhm.
training. My way is little different. I like to conversation. You know, I like to talk, hey man, stay with me after. You know, if they do something wrong.
Yeah.
I don't go on the class. What work exactly the same way for me. You use yourself as example. With me was exact perfect example because they make fun of me. They make me feel embarrassed. And then I did everything to that not happen again.
Right.
Exactly like you said.
Yeah.
But my style, I like to talk. I call the guy in my office after class and say, hey man, that way you're doing is not right.
Hmm.
You have two options. Keep doing your way and don't cry after if you don't win any competition, or try to do it my way, start to push a little bit more that direction. You know, I'm more the coach like who's talking more, has a nice conversation,
Hmm.
and then the coach who is like imposing my what I want, you know, like I'm a
Right.
little like I'm more like new generation style, you know, like I'm more the guy who's talking about I don't like to impose too much my ideas, you know. For example, let's say I think the guy needs to switch his game. I mean, I don't think that's a good game for you. I'm not gonna say, man, that's a shitty game. Why are you doing that game? Let's do this game. What I'm
Right.
talking about. No, I have a conversation. Listen, man, the last 5 minutes you have, your game didn't work well. You know what I thought about? I think if you go start to play that game here, that's relate with your game. Gonna be easy transition. Let's do this for 2 months. I don't want to see you play your game. I wanted to play the game I'm thinking about. I'm more the guy who's like a older brother, let's say that way. I
Yeah.
have a conversation without imposing, but I try to explain why it's important to the person to change. And I feel like my style is more that way than forcing people. No, I don't care. Oh, why, coach? Doesn't matter. Just do what I say. No, I like to explain why. Let's try that way. If it doesn't work, let's go the other way. We try to always find a solution to the problems, but I'm more the coach who's talking more than imposing more things, you know.
When you look out across your academy, you know, you have exposure to a lot of different people coming through, whether they're training gi or no gi, or they want to be a competitor, or they want to just support their family and be an example, whatever their reason for coming on the mats is, as you're observing people, as someone who's done this as long as you have, what are some of those characteristics that you find in people at an early stage? So maybe someone who comes in as a white belt, or maybe they're evolving as they become a blue belt, and you see and you go, I know that that person has that thing where they can be great. What are
Mhm.
some of those characteristics that are not universal amongst all practitioners of jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, the hard thing for us to teach for students is have a heart. What that mean? The person who is in a bad position but not give up, keep pushing. And you can see that from day one. Like I do have a beginners class in my academy, right? My beginners class is super simple. We talk about one or two techniques. We let they drill the technique a lot. 45 minutes they drill the technique for about 25, 30 minutes. And then we do the last 10 minutes in the class. We do what I call live drill. Okay. We put the guy in the situation. Let's talk about, for example, just to be easy for people to understand. Let's talk about I teach side control escape. Okay. In the last minute, I put a guy in the side control on top holding, and the guy on bottom need to try to do the escape. The job for the guy on top is just holding. The guy on bottom gonna try to apply the technique we just teach, right? That's the way I see the guy be forcing to try real, and they're gonna say, "Oh man, they're really working because the other guy apply a lot of pressure. They're gonna try to hold, and that's bring it close to the reality." In that day, I'm able to see if the guy has their heart or not. Like if the guy, like some people like to try one time, two times, oh, I'm exhausted, I don't want to try anymore. And that guy doesn't mean that guy never not gonna be good, but that guy would be one the guy who is need to be really technical, learn technique, be able to deal with technique, but if every single time he try a technique, the technique don't work, he gonna give up. You know, and then we have the guy who is like on bottom doing everything wrong, but they fight with his life to escape. That guy is the easy guy to teach in jiu-jitsu because he already has the mentality, okay, I'm in bad position, but I know if I fight one punch I'm going to escape, you know.
Right.
And then like that guy is easy to sharp, you know, just like, okay, look, you can escape. Besides, you just use your strength, put your hand here, the other hand here, bring your knee back, now you recover. If they have the heart to not stop in fighting the bad position, it would be so easy to explain little by little what the next step, next position, next way to escape. And those guys is the guys who has big chance to become a world champion because they already have the heart, they already have the fighting mentality. You know, they have the mindset to not stop and keep going until they get a good position. And that is, I think, super. I think I didn't find how, but I don't think it's possible to teach people how to be that aggressive. You know, at least me, I never teach somebody to change, be super calm and become super aggressive. You know, it's something you need to understand. And that click one day on you, or you born with it there, and you're gonna be super aggressive to escape and try to do those things that way. You know, I think that's the best way to find. Like you can see easy, like first day, oh man, look at how aggressive that kid is. They're gonna be a good athlete. You know, just
Yeah.
need to sharpen him now. Let me teach him how the way, give you directions, and they're gonna be much easier after.
As jiu-jitsu continues to change, we just saw two of the biggest events in no-gi grappling of the year and also the biggest masters gi event of the year all kind of happen right in close succession. And you're seeing whether it's the growth of social media and its role in people's ability to self-promote plus the money that's coming into it, but you're seeing really now things grow at a different rate than they have in the past.
Hmm.
And we're talking about inside of 100 years, right? Like jiu-jitsu as a centerpiece in our culture, some of the people that do it's not like it hasn't been around. It's been around for a long time, but it's really grown aggressively in the last 100 years.
Hmm.
When you look at where the sport's headed and the art form is headed, right? So both sides of it, where do you think, do you think that it's possible as this moves forward to become a world champion and not have the prerequisite of being an athlete first?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I feel like the way jiu-jitsu growing now make it people be more athlete, you know, because like thinking about now, like let's use the past, like on 96, first world competition, right? Most the people who's won that year was a people who has a full job
Yeah.
and training jiu-jitsu at night, right? Most of the guys, like let's say Liborio, Zé Mario, all those guys have a normal job during the day, training jiu-jitsu at night, and they compete, they end up winning the awards because they train really well, they good, but that's like they train more than the other guys. But if you see the world champions last year, 2000, this year, 2024,
Mhm.
they are really an athlete. They
Yeah.
do nothing. They don't teach jiu-jitsu. They don't have a job. What they doing? They train in the morning. They have a rest time during the day. Train at afternoon, and they have another rest time, and they train again at night. You know, like they do at least 3 sessions a day. They really athletes. You know, and
Yeah.
now becoming hard for a person look like, okay, I have a normal job, and then I'm gonna compete in the world tomorrow. I can guarantee the guy can be really good in jiu-jitsu, but if he doesn't prepare himself physically, he will never become a world champion because now you need to mix. Like Mika Galvão is a perfect example. That kid is unbelievable, good jiu-jitsu, beautiful jiu-jitsu, one of the beautiful I ever saw in my life. But also that kid's athlete. Like he trains jiu-jitsu, he eats well, he do everything he's supposed to do. He does nothing wrong. You know,
Yeah.
that's a perfect example. Like how come somebody who's just really good in jiu-jitsu, like natural good in jiu-jitsu, can beat Mika? Almost impossible. I don't see way. Maybe if the natural athlete become a real athlete, can beat him. But like if they don't do both together, no way they can beat him or Tainan. You know those guys is in another level, and that's good for jiu-jitsu. They're pushing everybody,
I
you know,
agree.
and they're also start to expose us more for the social media because we have a good example now. You know, all those guys is a real athletes. What I my understand gonna bring big sponsorships. You know, I just think like my question is why uh, other sports, small sports, downhill or whatever, tennis, you know, they make that much money when they win competition. In jiu-jitsu doesn't pay that much money.
Nothing.
I do believe because we don't have the big company sponsors. Like why Nike is not involved, why Adidas is not involved with jiu-jitsu. You know, I just don't understand the reason because we have so many like that's the study people does. Gracie Barra did there. 3% people compete in jiu-jitsu, right? That's 3% from the whole picture, right? With 97% people not competing. That means if you have 10,000 competitors, how many people do jiu-jitsu in the whole world, right? And that's like, if Nike or Adidas decide to make a gi or whatever, hash word, whatever they want to do it, they're going to make a ton of money as well, like they make money doing shoes or whatever they do, you know? And then I just don't understand why they don't step in yet. And I do believe when they step in, start to sponsor IBJJF, start to sponsor athletes, we're gonna make a lot of money from there. And that's gonna be a life change for everybody. We're gonna be able to like now I believe let's say the best athletes in the world they have sponsorship, they make maybe 10,000, $20,000 a month. If those guys jump in, we're going talking about people gonna make 100,000, 200,000 a month. That's just to be athlete and competing and live jiu-jitsu, you know. And I do believe that's not too far away. I do believe it's getting out. The CGI helped a lot, you know. Craig Jones was the first one to put that $1 million, you know. And already
Crazy.
hitting, they thinking about to double for the next one, be $2 million, you know. And that's gonna be like just help that bring more attention. The company say, hey, why somebody put $1 million? That means they make money. I wanna be part of that. And then I think that's the next. I do believe in the next 10 years we're gonna go for another level. We're gonna be like make ton of money in jiu-jitsu.
I
Yeah.
think yeah, it's definitely on a precipice. Like when you get that first big brand injection, which is yet to happen, you know, a lot of the brands, God bless them, are really putting in work to support the community, right? Like all the brands
Mm-hmm.
that exist in jiu-jitsu, they are
Yeah.
passionate about what they do. They probably most of them probably train themselves or they've been involved in the industry a long time. And to be honest, they're still relatively small brands. They're not even
Mm-hmm.
close to something like an Adidas or an Under Armour or Nike. And when you get
Yeah.
those companies decide to enter into grappling, I'm curious, what do you think about when that happens? Like there's going to be a weird like tipping of the scales because that the big brands will have the money and then the athlete will be challenged. Do I hold true to like the OG brand that's been here, that's been supporting me forever, that's like got roots in the industry, or do I take this huge paycheck and start rocking something like Nike? So do you think that from the
I
business
think
side, do you think that'll be tough for athletes?
I think no. I think the athletes need to be professional. And the way to be
Yeah.
professional is whatever person who is paid more, you're supposed to go. Of course, we have like uh, a lot of respect for the companies which help us to grow.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see the bottom line, those companies help us because they make money over what we're doing as well. You know,
Right.
like we don't need to be like, oh man, I'm not fair. It's not right. If I change, it is right because the same way you help them, they pay you a salary to competing and do all the stuff. They make money. They pay us a salary because we have a value for them, you know.
Right.
And when the big company jump in, we're supposed to follow and just like whatever offer more. Jiu-jitsu is another like any other profession, you know. Whatever pay more, you're supposed to go. Of course, if you don't do anything wrong, if you have a contract waiting for the contract done, and then you go for the new company, but give you the opportunity for the new company. You know, look, that guy offered me that much. Can you cover it? No, okay, I'm going with them. You know,
Right.
that's the right way to go. But I think that all the new athletes, the new generation, they're not gonna have a problem. They already understand they need to be professional. And if some other company pay more, they're supposed to go for the company who's pay better.
What did you think of the lead up to CJI and then actually seeing it happen and now
Mhm.
knowing that Cade Ruotolo walked away, a millionaire, and Nicky Rod walked away a millionaire? That actually happened. And now these two grapplers who like have just dedicated their life to the love of the sport that they're doing are now millionaires. Like, what was that process like for you, having been competing since you were, 3 years old? Did you ever think that you would live in a world where a grappler was
Mhm.
making $1 million
It's crazy.
for doing what they
I,
love?
I'm gonna do an example real quick here. I
Yeah.
moved to US 2010, 2009, I think, or 2008. I come to US to compete in a grappling quest. Remember the grappling quest? The
Yeah.
competition was really small. I mean, was the big grappling competition that time was Naga and Grappling Quest. I pay $120 for competing and to the open class to if I win the open class I will make $2,000. I pay $120 to make maybe 2,000, maybe, right, because it was a competition open class. In the semi competition was myself, Xande Ribeiro, Saulo Ribeiro, Glover Teixeira, and Jeff Monster. That was
Wow.
our five. You know, Saulo Ribeiro and Xande Ribeiro ended up winning. I lost for Saulo, and Xande won the other side. And
Wow.
just for you see, like, that was not too long ago. We're talking about 2008. That's like 14, 15, 20 years ago. And yeah, 18 years ago. And then, like, if we just have there, we pay for competing to maybe win $2,000. And now, and we're talking about we having the best guys in the world in that competition. Saulo and Xande was the world champion that year, you know, and they paid the same the way I did. They pay $120 to maybe win $2,000, you know, and now we see like those guys get invited to go. They pay for the guys to go, the instructor go, the coach go together. I'll pay
Mm-hmm.
nice best hotel in the place, you know, everything was for free, and then they end up walk with $1 million. That was unbelievable. Like I hope that go that way to better, you know.
Yeah.
And I see it's gonna get better because Craig Jones did an amazing job, you know.
Yeah.
And then I can tell we'll be dumb if they don't do again because it was really good job, a lot of advertising, you know, a lot of other companies step in to sponsor the competition. I believe next year gonna have even more people sponsor. I think gonna be easy for him to get more money to put on the business and make more competition like that.
In the wake of CJI, its success, which I would love to actually end up seeing the numbers on this kind of stuff, because as of now it seems like more of a perception. But I would agree that they both did well. A lot of people watched them, right? People were raving about the excitement of the event and then the ultimate victories. What do you think gi jiu-jitsu needs to do in the near future, as no-gi grappling obviously continues to get bigger and bigger, and it's very MMA adjacent? Someone can be an MMA fan and
Mhm.
see no-gi grappling and go, oh, I kind of understand this. I'll watch this. Oh, I've seen that guy in the Contender Series or something, or I've seen this guy on Fight Pass. Uh,
Mhm.
they might watch a gi match and go, I have no idea, what's going on
Mhm.
here. That being said, I think gi jiu-jitsu had its best year in decades. Like the 2024 Worlds were incredible. Worlds Masters were incredible. You had fantastic moments. People that got victories that have been chasing them for so long, and to some degree, I feel like gi jiu-jitsu looks like it's at its best. So how does it continue to pace with no gi?
Yeah, I feel like I don't think no gi ever will be bigger than gi. In my opinion, the gi is what make for business, relate, jiu-jitsu, you making more money. You can see, I maybe can be wrong, but I never saw one academy who is off a gi and no gi, the no gi class be bigger than gi class. I think to teaching class jiu-jitsu is easy and you have more options, is more healthy than no gi, but it's easy for understand. I think because the rules. I feel the only way people can do uh, gi become like nice, like no gi, more let's say easy to understand for the public who doesn't do it, if they change the rules and be make like a simple rules. Let's say take it down is 2 points, sweep is 2 points, knee on belly 2 points, everything be 2 points. That way it's gonna be much easier. You're gonna say, oh, they score points now, oh, they score points now, and that make it easy for people to understand. I feel like the day they understand, they made up what gonna be really hard to create their rules. The day they make new rules and their rules be simple to people understand, I think that's gonna be the boom for gi. The gi gonna be much easy to sell for public, and that way we're gonna start to make more super fights, and stuff like that. But if you're thinking about like the biggest, like now we have two big shows for gi, right? In my opinion, BJJ stars, and then the GP on IBJJF is the two biggest competitions for gi, right? They have the
Right.
show really nice. And man, they have maybe the same amount people watching the no-gi crew, Like I feel like they just don't put the same amount money. And if they put in more money, maybe they're gonna bring it back. Like who doesn't wanna see maybe Gordon Ryan fight against Bushesh in the gi?
For
If
sure.
we have one person who say, "Hey Gordon, I have $1 million, super fight, you and Bushesh gi," I can guarantee they're gonna be like more people watching there than maybe watch the CGI, because everybody want to see. I think like people want to put in more money to see the no gi, but the day they decide, what, let's invest in the gi as well. I think they're gonna make the same amount of money and maybe even more because everybody want to see those matches as well.
When you look to the two different disciplines, even though they are both jujitsu, there's some nuance to each. Like nogi
Mhm.
is going to have its variations and its different approaches. With your game, what do you feel like is the best way to train the two? If you're, let's say, you're someone who's been trained jujitsu, or you're going to start out in jujitsu and you really want to try to learn both, how should you approach that?
Okay. I feel that it's hard to say because I started just in the gi, right? When I start jiu-jitsu, we don't have no gi and gi, right? It's just
Right.
gi, and then later we start to do no gi as a part of jiu-jitsu. But the way I see, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I understand the whole picture. Like if you see, like let's say ADCC, we have like was 66, 77, 88, 99, and above, right? Five divisions. All five divisions, if I'm not wrong, the people who is one is starting jiu-jitsu with gi, right?
Yeah.
I do believe the jiu-jitsu with gi help give you the tools to be really good at no-gi. And then when you get in the high level in the gi, will help you to understand because no gi is more about be explosion and athletic, right? Gi was a little bit more technical. When you learn the technique in the gi, it's so easy to reproduce in the no gi. But if you learn the technique in the no gi, a lot of times you're not able to do in the gi because the grip is gonna mess everything. I
Right. Right.
think it's easy. Uh, do gi more and stop gi and go to the no gi and work out, and they're gonna be super easy to translate and switch, okay? Then do the other way around. If you just do no gi and then you try to do gi, that's gonna make much harder for you to understand.
Right.
My suggestion, if I was a white belt today, I will train at least until purple belt, more gi than no gi. I will do both. Once a week no gi, 4 times a week gi, and then As a purple belt, if I like no gi more, I start to switch. Okay, now I'm gonna train 3 times a week no gi, twice a week gi, and I still think like just see like Felipe Pena, Buchecha, all those guys, they train the gi whole year. And
Yeah.
before competition, they take 1 month or 2 months, they start training no gi. They have a really season for no gi, but the gi season for them is a whole year. I can guarantee Preguiça during the no gi season, he train at least once a week gi, because we missing gi, I feel like gi help us to sharpen. No gis are like if you do a camp for competition, I think that's enough and help us to be ready.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool seeing like Felipe Andrew and I mean even the Ruotolos, right? They have a
Uh
huge
huh.
history training in the gi, and
Yep.
you had matches like Ty, I think it was, versus Jason Nolf, when you're like, oh well, this guy's a wrestler, he's definitely going to win. And then what
Mm-hmm.
do you get? You get a match where they're back and forth, and you're like, wait, hold up, I don't understand. A D1 All American wrestler and basically a gi competitor who then transitioned to no gi is giving this guy a run for his money. It was so surprising, but it
Yep.
shows that that skill set, that body awareness, the understanding of training in the gi as much as possible. I mean, another example, Hoyler Gracie, right? He trained in the gi forever, and then he went and fought Eddie Bravo, but I think he only did a couple of weeks no gi
Mm-hmm.
before they did that event. So it shows that there's so much skill building and awareness that you're getting from training in the gi and learning that way. I'll say, as a purple belt, now finding myself doing a lot more no-gi, I get like anxiety about being in the gi because my grips aren't as effective as when they're being trained constantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more easy to transition and do a no-gi day than to go into the gi and just get wrecked by someone who has
Yeah.
really efficient, dominant gi grips.
I agree. I agree 100%. That's why I feel like if people do the other way around, start to no gi and later start to try to do gi, they're gonna be so frustrated. Probably they're gonna quit gi and just keep no gi. That's why I feel like you know what, do gi, and then after you understand what gi mean, and then you start to go transition for no gi, will be easy transition. You're gonna feel much better because nobody gonna stop you. You're gonna feel really fast, and just need to adjust your grips like head control, wrist control, and after that, it's like easy.
You've made a comment that I thought was really interesting about being filmed while you're training and wanting
Okay.
to just you have a new rule that like if anyone ever pulls out a camera you're just going to absolutely destroy them because one time you got burned, right? Someone that you trained with
Yep.
filmed the
Yep.
round. I'll let you tell the story. Why don't
Uh-huh.
you tell the story first, and then I have a follow-up question about that because I
Sounds
thought this
good.
was great.
Sounds good. That was like the year I moved to US, right?
Yeah.
2010. My first year, I don't speak English well. I was black belt, already win a lot of competition, in my prime, 27, 28 years old, doing really well. And their brown belt was good, but he's a wrestling, and more no gi style. But we training the gi, and then I was training kind of easy, helping the guy, and the guy like, hey man, I'm gonna record it before the match. I was super cool. Okay, no problem, you can
Yeah.
record. And then I was training, and the last maybe a minute, I think it was the last minute, he ended up getting me the guillotine choke, and he'd make me tap. And then I started to go a little harder, but it was 1 minute left. I couldn't do too much. I didn't finish him. And that guy leave. He cut just the last 10 seconds of the match and put me, he choked me and he make a highlight about the choke and post there, and he never come back and never trained for me again. I mean, I'm not kidding, for about 5 years, I always try to find that guy. I doesn't know. He just show up. I want to find what academy he go just to be able to train with him again and record and make another video. Was just ego, nothing bad, but like I want to beat him back. But after that day, I say, you know what? If any person one day asks you to record, I say yes. But if you record, I need to go 100%. And after that, every single time somebody grab the phone and say, I'm going to record, no problem. But you make sure you understand I'm going 100% if you record. And now I go 100%. And I don't give you an inch for anybody if somebody record after that time.
So I love that. I think it's so good. I can totally see that happening with this dude. So you go back to, growing up in Rio de Janeiro and the discipline. We already talked about the structure of
Hmm.
these academies, these old rules, right? Like
Yep.
you don't talk about training. You're all there to make each other better. And when that's happening, when you're truly in a training environment, you are always trying to become better, not just win. And when you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
become better, sometimes you're going to submit me, sometimes I'm going to submit you. We're going to talk about it afterwards. We're going to improve. But if you filmed all that process, it's going to look a little different than reality, because
Uh-huh.
really the only true expression of how decent someone is how do you do in the competitive environment. If you really want to showcase it, go compete. That's how you know, right? That's your
Mm-hmm.
skill set under pressure in the environment against someone else who's trained as well and they're ready for that moment. So we go back to this, and there's this, you see a lot more filmed rounds, a lot more highlight reels, a lot more
Mm-hmm.
behind the scenes of training, because social media is big and people want to share this kind of stuff because it helps move them along, it helps self promote. With how much this lends itself to growing the sport, like you think about CJI, right? A lot of the build up to CJI and ADCC, it's exactly that. It's highlight
Mm-hmm.
reels. It's
Yes.
showcasing, hey, Rafael Formiga is a dominant force. Look at him, whoop this person's ass in a live competition or in a training hall, and it gets the fans excited. They love this, and so they start to pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to the build up, and then they tune into the event. Growing up and learning in the environment that you did, and the structure and the discipline and that philosophy, and then now being still a competitor, still dominant, 11-time world champion in a time where social media is so present, what do you think is the right mix here of like recording yourself, learning from video, self promoting, trying to create your brand, manage your brand,
Mm-hmm.
and do all that in a respectful manner that isn't just you showcasing, the times you got lucky in training.
Yes, I do believe like if I do that in the competition, like you said, like if that guy compete against me and he really make me tap, he can do whatever he want. He deserve. He make me tap,
Totally.
was a real, was legit. I was going 100%, he was going 100%, and that happened. I see many times people get a tap and after the next competition make the other guy tap. That
Yeah.
part of the game. You will do something new or you try something, didn't work, you mess up a little bit the timing, the guy caught you in some position. And if that happened in real life, that's cool. Use that for advertise yourself. But that way was bad because like I didn't expect. I tried pretty much. I tried to. I do that. I have that on my mind. If I train with somebody low level, I try to match my level with the guy. And if the guy doesn't have it even close, I start to give some good positions and I start to work my defense. Let's say I
Yeah.
go against a purple belt and then I start to go hard and I see I can smash the guy pretty easy. I'm gonna put myself in a bad situation. Maybe give it side control, or maybe let the guy. I'm not say I give, but I will pretend I'm sweeping the guy end up in side control, and then I'm gonna fight to escape, or maybe the guy gonna take my back. I'm gonna work my escape from the back, because that way I'm training myself, help the guy to train himself. I try to do that,
Right.
and that in that case, I tried. I didn't give my neck for the guy. The guy really has the guillotine choke, but I was training really slow. Try to play my butterfly really like easy. Not going 100%, not worry about submissions because I thought the guy has a low level. And it was cool. He got him in the guillotine choke. Was legit because when he got it,
Right.
I really tried to escape. I could escape. I'm not saying it wasn't work, but I didn't expect I doesn't go 100%. In that case, I don't think it's cool because like first he was visiting my academy, just that fact he visiting the academy and post after you train with somebody, it's already, in my opinion, is not cool.
Right.
And that a second one, like wasn't real, like, and he added the video, he just showed that part. He didn't show the whole thing, he just showed that
Right.
part, and that making me mad. But I can do with people like whatever he want. He that kid like post that video. I never saw him again. I wish I could at least train with him again, be able to pay back and say, listen, that time I let you play. Now I'm not gonna do it. But that happened. But I do think it's important to social media help us a lot to advertise our name. But you also on the other side of the coin, social media helping people to lie. How many people who is not good at all make ton of videos like show fancy techniques, amazing things, and when that guy go competing, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
A lot of times, and those guys a lot of times sell more because they talk, they lie, and they sell. That's the hard part. I tell my students, I'm a big fan about my students cross training and Google technique and bring it to me. You know,
Right.
but I explain to them, listen. I don't want you guys to Google any technique and try to reproduce the technique without talk with me or the black belts from here. Because I want you guys to bring it, then we're gonna tell, no, that technique is legit. Let's do it. Let's go. Go ahead. Let's work together. Because we see so many bullshit online, like people so, oh, look at that choke. The choke look amazing. And we know the choke doesn't work at all, you know? Like you see so many, and those guys end up becoming big guys in social media, but they don't show real jiu-jitsu. They just show things like look cool and doesn't work at all, you know?
Yep.
I do like to, I try to find a mix, you know, like make sure when you Google guys to learn, Google big names, Google champions or guys who has a lot of students who's a champion, good coach, good competitors. That way, gonna make it probably easy for you guys to learn good technique, not just fancy stuff who's never gonna work. You know, I do that, have that kind of conversation to make sure they understand that.
It's funny in as a personal trainer by career and having done that for the better part of a decade, it's really funny because the same thing happens in personal training. You get people online that develop a big following by showing exercises and variations that are completely absurd. I mean,
Uh huh.
things that you would never do or never, more importantly, never see in an athlete training facility. So if you
Yep.
went to like a sports team where they're getting paid a lot of money to keep these athletes healthy and stronger and perform on a court, on a pitch, on a mat, whatever, in
Uh
a
huh.
cage, they're going to stick to some pretty tried and true movements that build strength and keep athletes safe and reduce injury. They're
Hmm.
not going to balance on a one foot, pressing a barbell overhead with the other arm and flipping things in their hand with
Yeah.
the other.
Yeah.
You know, like they're not going to do that. It's not a
Hmm.
real thing. And so you see in jiu-jitsu, how do you see champions submit champions? You
Hmm.
know, what's the largest percentage submission? You know, you look at that, they're not doing that in the video.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
showing you some upside down inverted back take where they're exposed the whole time, and it's like the other person's just laying there like a broken uke, right? Like they're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
resisting.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
And it's
And
got
like,
thousands of views.
and if you see like that's the thing. Like now, that's the one thing hurt a little bit. Like the back the day when I was young, the only way you're gonna have sponsorship when the magazines talk about you, right? If you have like Gracie Bag or Tatami, you know, those magazines start to talk, hey, Rafael Formiga won double gold, there's a blue belt juvenile. That's when people, oh, let's see that guy, you know? Because and then was the special media, the people who understand, like, look, that guy is legit. And how come it came show myself, train more, be better, and then competing better. The new days now, how come I can show myself? Oh, I'm gonna start to make videos, make some funny videos or show techniques. And some guy who doesn't have any experience in competing start to have more followers than people who has a huge and they have some sponsorship. I have guys who is never competed in their life is sponsored by big companies because they sell gis. They always show
Yeah.
technique with the gi, and then but those guys kind of hurt the real athletes, you know, who doesn't do that part of the business, you know. What the new generation, I'm not good on that, but the new generation doing really well. They really good athlete and really good on social media. Those two combined is the goal, you know. I'm a good
Yeah.
athlete, but I'm terrible on social media. My social media is terrible, you know. But the new generation, Mika Galvão again, Tainan, you know, all those guys, the Rotolo's brother, they doing amazing in both. They have amazing
Yeah.
social media, amazing jiu-jitsu. That's the good combination. If I'm a owner from a company, that's the thing I'm gonna look in. You know,
For sure.
I help some companies to find sponsor athletes. And the first thing people ask me, hey Formiga, how many followers that guy have? I say, man, you ask how many followers. Why don't ask how many titles the guy have? You know, like
Right.
why the first thing you ask is the followers, not the titles. The titles, in my opinion, is more important than the followers. But for those companies, they want more followers than titles, and sometimes they get a shitty guy just because they have a lot of followers and end up
Right.
sponsor the guy and not sponsor the people who is really gonna help jiu-jitsu to grow. The guys who is like competing more and better competitors, something like that. You know.
I think the in all of this, the nice thing, in my opinion, is that it all shakes out in the end. You know, right now, it's all feels like it's all happening right now. But if we fast forward 20 years and you look back, those people with the big accounts, they won't be doing it anymore. The companies
Mhm.
will have pulled sponsorship from those athletes, and what you'll look back on is legacy, and that's
Uh-huh.
the greatest names in the sports who accomplished the most, who were the best representation as a person
Mhm.
of the philosophies of jiu-jitsu, of the effort and the discipline and everything that it takes, and they're going to be the ones that are still standing there. And the other things, like in all business, they will have come and went, and companies will have spent money on these random people that came up with cool Instagram reels, and they won't be there anymore.
Yeah.
And so it feels like it's all mixed up and cloudy right now. But at the end of the day, when Mika Galvao hangs his belt up, for example, uh, you will look back on a career, on a legacy that is
Mhm.
just remarkable, right? And that
Yeah.
cements you in time. That's much, much more valuable
Mhm.
than any of this other stuff. And it's all figuring itself out because there's money to be had, and when there's money to be had, people are going to try a bunch of different things to figure out how to make it work. But it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see how it all goes as jujitsu just continues to grow at a crazy rate. Before we step up here, I would be remiss if I didn't address one of your absolute bread and butter pieces of attack, which is the butterfly guard.
Mhm.
And it's something that you do so well. It's crazy to actually watch you with really high level people because, like I said, there's tons of videos of you out there using your technique to the best of your ability. Yet still, because of things like you said, your timing, your
Mhm.
knowledge of the position, your proprioception, what was it about that attack and system that drew you into it to where you've at this point dedicated years and years of your life to that
Mhm.
mastery and also utilized it in the biggest events in the world? So it's not like it's just something that you would use and shoot a cool video to share with some friends. You've also tested this time and time and time again
Yeah.
as something that works. So what was it
Mhm.
about that?
I feel like butterfly was natural to get in my jiu-jitsu. Why? When I started, I was 10 years old, training with adults. What happened? Most of the time, I was the little guy who's trying to defend myself, and people was smashing me, right?
Mhm.
Most of the time, the butterfly hook get it right there. It's the way I find it to keep the guy to not passing my guard, to keep the hookers inside and push. First, I start to do butterfly just to be like a defense, right?
Mhm.
And as I defend, what I start to see uh, people on top get like that sentence. I don't know if you guys have the same in Brazil. We say if you push too much aggressively and hit people get tired, right? People smash me, people start to get tired to try to smash me. I was able just survive, nice frame, and soon the guys out, I start to go. And then I start to sweep people because the butterfly is right there. And when people try to catch the breath, and that's the time I go and sweep or go for the position, try to sweep, something like that. And they start to work really well for myself. I was small, little. The leverage from the butterfly work really well. They help. You don't need to be super strong to work the position. I was able to loading people, sweep, be small guy and be able to sweep big guys. And I think that's was natural for me going towards that way. Luckily, my coach is under De La Riva, who's play a lot of bottom game, and they have a lot of like ways to teach me. They teach me a lot of variations, and during the time I start to make up my grips, change a little bit to building for my way, and then just become my game. And the fact I wasn't there a lot, I start to develop a lot of variations. So I think that's why if you ask me, Formiga, why your butterfly is so effective? Because I have so many variations from one position that make work really well. If I try to sweep for my left, I have maybe 10 variations for my left. You block out my 10, I go back to the right. It's still on the butterfly. I will do a few adjustments, change one grip, change other grip, but it's still butterfly game. I think that's the main reason I'm really good on that because I can do a lot of different positions from same position. I think that's the main thing.
Have you and Adam ever sat down and just brainstormed ways to evolve each other's use of butterfly?
No, but we talk about that all the time. All the
Yeah.
time. Before I was in the Pan Ams. He competed Pan Ams adult and I competed in the Masters. We both won the I won double gold and he won his division, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. Yeah, he won his division. And after saying, man, we need to sit down together. I will bring you to teach a seminar in my academy. And after the seminar, let's sit down and just we can talking about what you think man, that would be great. That's my dream. I really want to learn from him. And actually like I feel like I do butterfly a lot of variation to single X and X squad. He does
Mhm.
butterfly and he go variation from we call field dental. I don't know how you guys call here the when you have the lapel, and he do a lot of octaplus. He do
Mhm.
different variations than I do. I want to learn his variations, maybe show my variations for him. I think that both are gonna work really well together. Yeah,
Well, maybe one day we could line it up. We could have the podcast sponsor a Adam and Rafael
that would be
seminar
great.
on
Yeah,
butterfly
I,
mastery. It would truly be something incredible.
I will be there 100%. Count on me. I'm 100% there. I'm a big fan of his jiu-jitsu. He's really good, really good.
But I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show. It's something you represent. I think what a lot of people strive to become in the sport, someone who is humble and well accomplished at the same
Thank you.
time. It's very tough to do both those things because a lot of time with accomplishment comes ego and
Mhm.
comes, more feelings of self-worth and self-aggrandizement. But to be an 11-time world champion, as humble as you are and successful in business and still eager to learn from people who do the thing that you do best just a little different, it says a lot about the character and who you are. So if I could continue to have more people like you on the podcast, it would feel like a great success. So I really appreciate you taking the time, Rafael, to
Thank
be
you.
here and to share your wisdom and chop shop and jujitsu with me.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you for the time. It was amazing. I love to talk about jiu-jitsu. That's why all the time you wanna talk about me, jiu-jitsu and reason, anything, I'm here for you guys. I'm always here. I love that.
Absolutely, brother. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, friends, Abe here. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode and sticking around to the very end. If you want to support it, leave a 5-star review on Spotify or check out www.maynideapodcast.com. Join the mailing list and stay up to date on all things The Main Idea, from future guests, sponsorship opportunities, products that I'm using to help me perform at my best, invites to ask me anything, and any upcoming pertinent information to the show. I cannot do this show without you. It is literally why I show up each week and put these episodes together. So thank you from the bottom of my heart from being part of the community. I hope you have a great day.